Aquarius. Here is your May astrology for all Aquarius signs, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. Now, normally I tell everybody when I start the videos that if you're a Moon or a Venus sign, that I'm really getting into your emotional depths more than anything in these videos. And if you're a Sun or a Rising sign, then I'm more in your core. But as I've gone through all of these videos, it's kind of like the core is the emotional depth right now, no matter what angle we're coming from. Aquarius, first thing that Spirit is giving to me is you got a lot of 12th house that you're tapping into that you didn't even know was about you in a form. It's really private, personal areas that are bringing new perception and new wisdom and new strength. It feels like it's tapping into a part of yourself that you didn't even know existed. But that's the ascendant. That's the growth of the spirit. You are definitely in your own self-motivated, self-oriented, or action-oriented, self-assertive energies, personal. For some of you, it's a personal struggle, like a tug of war of finding this. Personal identification versus ego and introvert. You're destroying parts of the ego for the present and the future. Coming into a new cycle. And that's where some of that 12th house healing issues are taking place, which is, grief, sorrow, shame, blame, self-deception, self-undoing, subconscious energies. For some of you, that's going to be dealing with court or government situations. But a lot of this is the unconscious mind becoming conscious. Learning how to explore a higher dimensional depth of open-heartedness. Going past materialistic, past three-dimensional, and really digging deeper. The Spirit says, technically, in the long run, this is only a short journey of the journey. You're coming into a larger, deeper depth, a bigger strength of your true, real self. Investing in, trusting in that security. Finding a whole new value and depth of who and what you are. And learning to enjoy it if you're allowing yourself. A lot of this is going to have to do with self-communication. As well as communication outwardly. But they're giving me the sun. So that has to do with learning how to allow yourself to shine without thinking it's egotistical. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of heart chakra and throat chakra. Tapping into new levels of security. And for some of you, that's going to deal with directly, like ritual work, ceremony work. Just tapping into that 9th house of spiritual ethics, morals, psychic energy, visions, higher mind. And allowing that journey to take place. But you've got judgment, which is actually where that ego and where the sun and ego, soul and ego, allowing yourself to shine versus ego is getting in the way. There's self-judgment here, which keeps you from digging deep. And that's something you need to work on. They say stick with your goals and your ambitions. Just keep feeding that, because that will keep you going in the right direction. Anything else? You may need to set some new proper boundaries. Have a little bit more confidence and be a little bit more bold. Because they're giving me Leo and Scorpio energy. And for me, the Leo and the Scorpio is very dramatic, but very bold. And I don't even mean like in your face in a bad way, but like, oh no, wait, you know, kind of, and allowing that just to come out. And that may be fighting you on that ego, sun, allowing yourself to shine energy, because you may feel like that's not the right thing, but it is the right thing. And that's that self-judgment, which is actually coming from ego, not from soul. Yeah, because they're giving me Mars now and energies that you need to take action in. Confidence and courage, fire. Where you're afraid to speak from the heart of what the heart is trying to help you bring forward. But this is how you return to soul, is what they said. It's a part of your growth. Okay. Anything else? All of that is, again, to bring forth healing. Transformation in your growth. All right, before I get into the chart itself, you have a lot of planets that are going retrograde this month. Now, from the 10th through the 17th, you may be feeling quite sensitive, because that's when these planets are starting to retrograde. Prior to that, you have to understand these planets are actually in shadow. So they're looking at things from a more darker aspect until they retrograde, when they're only talking to you and helping you to understand what they've been talking about that's been in those darker aspects. There's a lot of karma and threefold energy coming in. I'm going to go over what's moving in a minute, and then we'll go into the chart. But from the 7th through the 11th, Spirit is reminding me that that is when we are actually starting to feel Mars and Ceres start to conjunct. Mars is that sacral chakra and solar plexus. It is the inner warrior, that inner confidence, that inner fire, your inner flame, and the ability to bring that into how you believe so that it can become I am energy. You build upon that. It's very creative in that energy. However, it's moving into Pisces, which is the universal 12th house. For you, that's actually your second house. And it's with Ceres. Ceres is the threefold. Ceres is karma. She tends to smack you up underneath the belt, hit you in the gut, too close to home. Ceres is all about what are you nurturing or what are you neglecting as far as strengthening the soul. She deals with child support. She deals with child neglect. She deals with health and diet. So this could also be dealing with things you were taught as a child, and are you continuing them now? Neglecting and learning how to nurture properly. Threefold in karma, coming into your second house, self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, your shape-shifting energies of your liberation. your investments of the security of you and having self-value. I'm going to get that into that a little bit more here in a minute. You have Chiron and Aries, which are in opposition all month, and I'm bringing it up specifically because I'm trying to remember. Spirit is saying this is an area of growth for you. You hear the dings going off. But let me throw out what I am seeing here. You have the full moon on the 7th, which is very powerful energy. Plus, I just found out a little bit ago when I was doing some research, we have a geomagnetic storm, which is bringing in extra sensitivity, and it may be coming right on up through the 7th and that full moon in Scorpio. You have Mercury, which is entering Gemini on the 11th, and it will spend like 2 weeks here, no time. It does like Gemini energy. However, it's flying through here and dishing out its information and then moving into Cancer. Saturn is going retrograde on the 11th. Mars enters Pisces on the 13th. Venus goes retrograde on the 13th. Jupiter goes retrograde on the 14th. Pallas goes retrograde on the 18th. Then the Sun enters Gemini on the 20th. The new moon takes place in Gemini on the 22nd. Mercury then enters Cancer on the 28th. And Juno, which is in Libra, is the only planet that's coming out of retrograde and going direct, and that happens on the 27th. Now, your very first house has Pallas here and Saturn. Your self-awareness, your personality, your appearance, your character, your core, your illumination of what everybody sees you, your shine, your identification, the very image of who and what you are. Saturn is here. Now, Saturn normally in any sign is bringing up more rules, laws, and boundaries. Very restricted, but I don't feel that with it in Aquarius. I feel it in Aquarius of going, let me just be willing to try some new things. And so this is allowing you to explore yourself. Take chances. However, it's been in shadow, and it will be in shadow until the 11th when it retrogrades. So it may have been testing some things that weren't exactly the best ideas. Okay? But after the 11th, when it goes retrograde, it's going to start talking to you about why maybe some of those ideas wasn't the best, because it's helping you to break out of your comfort zone and explore yourself in new levels. And with that, it's going to actually strengthen, because at that point, it's only talking to you about how and what you are willing to discover of yourself. However, it's only going to be here for a short amount of time, because it will be retrograding back into Capricorn, which is your 12th house, but not yet. Not for like another month or two, I don't believe. I got to double check. But it is going to be spending some time here really fast, you know, giving you that opportunity to dive deeper into you and experience who you are on a new level. So technically, this is a glorious thing. Pallas being here is giving you some strategic thinking, some depth of the darkness of inside of you that you don't even know is there. It's like the quiet, the still of the storm that you don't acknowledge is still. The forgotten parts of you. She's Athena, the warrior goddess, and all I'm getting with this energy, with Saturn going retrograde in, is the owl coming in. So it's bringing in hidden knowledge to you, if you're willing and ready to dive in and explore it. Now, as you move into your second house, we already did a little bit of explaining about this. You have Neptune in your second house, Mars and Ceres. Mars won't be actually moving in until the 13th. So technically, Mars is still in your first house until the 13th. But that's just going from your character, your personality, your awareness, your identity, to deeper into that identity, into the value, self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. the shape-shifting ability to truly dive into investing in yourself, strengthening your security, strengthening your power to be and believe in your value. But in the insecure areas, it may be possessive and controlling, because that's where you're fearful about tapping into it. But like I said, it's coming up on Sirius. Sirius is going to be teaching you about what you've been nurturing within this energy or neglecting. And Sirius is the threefold. She's going to come in with that self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, liberation, insecurities, and punch you in the gut. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but she's showing you where you're neglecting parts of yourself, because she's going to force you to feel it and see it pretty much all month and make that shifting change. Now, you're going to feel that energy the most potent between the 20th and the 27th, because that's when Sirius and Mars are within 1 degree of each other. They're going to be in conjunction all month, but they'll be within 1 degree of each other from the 20th through the 27th, where you will either really start to feel the most liberated, or you're going to feel why you don't feel it. But this is all about strengthening your value and digging deeper into the true depths of you and bringing you back from the dark, from the stillness that you don't even acknowledge is missing. That's beautiful energy. Now, your 3rd house is where Spirit was also telling me to pay a big, that's your communication. Yeah, that's your communication house, and it's with your higher self. Chiron in Aries, your communication house, your 3rd house, is in opposition with Libra, your 9th house, all month long. Chiron's the wounded healer, and he's here with Lilith. Chiron is trying to help you learn how to communicate properly with yourself, to dig deeper, as well as how to bring that out to the world to see and hear and learn, so that you are able to transform in how you communicate. But your 9th house is in opposition. So this is where you're afraid to dig deep enough into yourself. This is where that 3-dimensional idea of what philosophy is, what the religion is, what the laws are, what the ethics, the morals should be, versus that higher dimensional energy, like 5D and higher, which is telling you to trust in that gut feeling, trust in your intuition, trust in your visions, trust in your dreams, trust in your psychic energies and its morals and ethics, because it knows more than the 3-dimensional you does. This is saying there's a fear, a doubt in trusting in that inner communication. And as you allow that inner communication to come forward and strengthen you, then that's all it's going to do, is strengthen you. Make you more connected, more intelligent, more intellectual, more detail-oriented about parts of yourself and spiritual energy, psychic energy, higher self-source energy than what you've been able to experience, because it's helping you dig deeper and to trust in that communication. As well as the 3rd house deals with short journeys. So maybe talking about doing special meditation and journeys, but it also does deal with siblings and neighbors. So there may be some situations here that are also going to come up within communication, especially with that, with the up close and personal, close to home, siblings, neighbors, very close to you. But like I said, this is your 9th house going, are you ready to trust in your source energy? Or do you still doubt it? Are there still parts that you're keeping blocked off? We all have parts of our of our higher self, our source energy, that we have blocked off. That's why we're constantly growing. So that's actually beautiful energy. And Spirit was saying this is an energy of growth for you. It's not going to be easy because it is an opposition. Lilith is backing up Chiron and asking you to believe in that fire and trust in that inner communication. Higher self has Juno here, which is in retrograde until the 27th, which is the commitment to the higher self. And it's only talking to you because it's in retrograde. So up until the 27th, it's thoroughly giving you positive energies to work on. After the 27th, when it goes in shadow, is when it'll start teaching you about what you're still denying yourself. Now, you also have Eris here on the other side of Aries, and it is talking to Make. The collective consciousness right now is in your higher self. But Make is the level of the lotus flower. And whether you're truly spiritually growing or if you're stuck in the mud and can't get past the swamp. And it is directly in opposition with Eris. I call Eris Medusa, trouble, toil, strife, and injustice. Are you still sinking your teeth into the idea of that three-dimensional communication of what you've been taught ethically, morally, spiritually? Or are you truly starting to give yourself that true depth of union? This is why Spirit is saying some of this has to do with certain rituals and ceremonies and actually tapping into journeying and meditation, because some of this can only be found by doing the work. And which side are you still holding on to? The three-dimensional, or are you ready to let that fall away? This is actually very beautiful energy for you. Sorry, I'm hearing neighbors. Your fourth house is where you have Uranus in Taurus, and the sun is here, really tapping into your roots. Really tapping into your roots. This could also have to do with your inner child and where some roots may have created poor personal foundations, and where you need to, I keep saying, like, if the foundation is here and you put the house on top, well, if you have a poor foundation, things start falling through the cracks. This is where we're tapping into where the foundation isn't exactly strong, because we're strengthening the inner emotional security by realizing where it was built upon neglect. And how you tap into deeper soulful energy instead of three-dimensional, materialistic, view with my eyes, this is the way it should be energy. Dropping the scientific and truly getting into a different level of scientific that's above our level of understanding by tapping into source. And learning how to rise above roots that might have been created ill by strengthening you from within. The sun and Mercury are going to be traveling. Well, Mercury's going to be going past the sun right around the full moon energy here at the 7th. I'll get to that in a minute when we get to there. But this is bringing more of that communication and true depth into the vision of the illumination of your inner emotional security and really tapping into personal foundations and roots. The communication is going to illuminate for you, either in a mirroring effect, which you'll see with other people, of what you're not doing, or it's going to start speaking to you directly about what you need to be doing. Taurus is all about wanting heaven on earth. Taurus is a very fixed energy. Taurus is very stubborn and inflexible at the same time, while it's completely reliable. I mean, it's the bull. It brings the abundance. And can be bullheaded for the right reasons or bullheaded for the wrong reasons. So depending on where you are in that communication and that illumination will be is if it's communicating with you or if you have to see it through a mirroring effect so that maybe you'll start to get it. It's also speaking to you of coming into your independence, your creative self, your inventive self, your freedom, and trusting in the inventive, innovative person that you are. And then allowing it to build upon parts of yourself that you haven't even acknowledged. It's very beautiful energy. Your 5th house is where you will have the new moon at the end of the month on the 22nd. I'm just following the way it is because your full moon is actually at the end of the chart. But your new moon on the 22nd is in Gemini, which happens to be your 5th house. This is all coming back to your communication of your pursuit of pleasure, of your creative self, and allowing yourself to truly be creative. And I want to say, that's what I'm getting from them, is not half-assed creative. Like truly digging in deep and allowing yourself to explore parts of yourself that you've been maybe a little fearful about. But by doing that, it's going to give you so many more rewards. This is your personal interests. This is your expression of self. This is dating, romance, sex, but it's also hobbies. It's where I say all the time, you know, a musician feels lost if they cannot play their music. A writer needs to write. Whatever is your creative expression that makes you tick, that helps you to thrive and feel good about life, this is time to dig in. But you may not be able to dig in until the 22nd or as you come closer to the 22nd. Because like I said, you have Venus in this energy, which is going retrograde. So Venus, up until the 13th, when it goes retrograde, may be talking about where you're not putting the proper time, effort, or value into that creative expression. Into trusting and believing in self to do so. She's teaching you either what parts of it you're not giving yourself time for, or you feel like the world around you is taking that time away. Or she's teaching you where you're not taking the time to nurture and value yourself to give yourself that. In shadow, she's going to be looking at those darker aspects up until she retrogrades on the 13th. And then you're coming into the new moon on the 22nd. So this is preparation of setting that direction for those personal interests and strengthening that core. But not until the 22nd, because there's parts that are leading you to it that are going to need to take its time to manifest and grow to get you in the right direction. Your soul fire is here, begging for you to get on board with it. You also have the North Node, or Rahu, moving into this energy. Technically on the 5th, it's already moved in, but I don't care what nobody says. It's still in the cusp, even though it's in Gemini, it's more or less in the cusp for the whole month. So it's still picking up that Cancer energy, even though it's in Gemini. I mean, it's only at 1 degree, which is those daily routines. People, places, and things of energies that you consume of those daily routines. Do those daily routines serve you and nurture you? Or are they keeping you from neglecting you? Neglecting that personal interest area? That creative area? Are you so busy you don't have time for it? It's teaching you what you need to nurture so that you can communicate properly to yourself. Now, we're going to go over to your full moon. That full moon is in the 10th house, your honor and your reputation. your social foundation, your financial success, your prestige. The Scorpio energy is going, are we triggering anything here? I'm going to come back for your 12th house and the rest of this one, but we're out of time. Love you. Come back for part 2.